You see, most people think men are out there chasing looks, status, or some checklist of traits they want in a woman. And sure, attraction starts with the eyes, but if you really want to understand what makes a man chase, and I mean genuinely pursue you, it's not your looks. It's not even your accomplishments. It's how he feels when he's around you. That's the shocking truth most people miss. Men don't fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with the emotions they associate with you. When a man is around you, he's not analyzing you the way you think he is. He's not consciously thinking she's smart, she's independent, she has a great career. That might be impressive for a moment, but what he's actually registering is much deeper and much more primal. He's asking himself, how do I feel when I'm around her? Do I feel like a better man in her presence? Do I feel desired, respected, and alive? When a man feels seen and admired by you, not just tolerated, not just casually engaged with, but truly seen, that's when you become magnetic to him. Most women don't realize the power they have here. They're too focused on being impressive. But the truth is, you don't need to impress him. You need to inspire him to feel something that he doesn't feel with anyone else. That's where the chase begins. Think about it. We chase what feels good. We chase the people who make us feel valued, energized, and appreciated. If you make a man feel like he's operating in his masculine energy, if he feels like a protector, a provider, a winner when he's with you, that triggers something in him that goes beyond logic. It's not about boosting his ego or feeding him false praise. It's about genuinely reflecting back to him the qualities he's proud of when he shows up with effort. Most people don't know how to do this. They either go into full approval mode, laughing at everything he says, agreeing with everything, trying to be the perfect match, or they go in the opposite direction, being overly cold or unavailable, thinking that's what creates mystery. But the real sweet spot, it's showing that you notice him when he shows up right. You appreciate effort. You respect strength. You admire character. And when he steps up, you reflect that admiration back in a subtle but powerful way. That's what gets under his skin. That's what makes him want more. Let's go even deeper. Men are so used to being judged. We live in a world where everyone has an opinion. And especially in the dating world, so many men feel like they're constantly being measured against a moving target. But when a man finds someone who creates a space where he doesn't have to perform, but where he wants to because he feels respected and admired, that's a game changer. That's when he starts chasing, because now it's not just about you, it's about how he feels about himself when he's around you. And listen, this isn't about inflating his ego, it's about igniting his spirit. There's a difference. One of them is surface level, just saying whatever he wants to hear. The other goes deeper. It says, I see your potential, I see your power, and when you show up fully, I notice. That's the feeling that stays with him when he leaves the room. That's the feeling that makes him check his phone to see if you texted. That's the feeling that makes him drive an extra hour just to see you for 10 minutes. Because the truth is, men chase what makes them feel alive, not what's convenient, not what's easy, not what's right in front of them all the time. They chase what makes them feel like the best version of themselves. And if you can become the mirror that reflects that back to him, he's yours. This is why chasing isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding emotional impact. The deepest relationships are not built on tactics. They're built on the ability to consistently evoke a feeling. So many women tell me, I don't understand. He says I'm amazing. He says I'm beautiful, but he's not showing up. He's not chasing me. And the answer is almost always the same. He knows you're amazing, but he doesn't feel amazing around you. That's the gap. The goal isn't to be the most impressive woman in the room. It's to be the one who makes him feel something he can't explain. And that starts with the little things. It's the way you smile when he shares something vulnerable. It's the light in your eyes when he talks about something he's proud of. It's the playfulness in your voice when you tease him. It's your ability to challenge him without emasculating him. All of those things speak directly to his identity, because when a man starts associating you with feeling respected, admired, and even a little challenged. He doesn't want to lose that. He'll do the chasing. He'll make the plans. He'll show up in ways that surprise you, and not because you forced it, but because you sparked it. Now, the real secret is this. It has to be authentic. You can't fake admiration. You can't pretend to be impressed by someone who isn't showing up in a way you genuinely respect. That's why your standards matter. That's why you wait for effort before giving your attention. Because when you admire genuine effort and not just potential, he feels it. And that admiration becomes addictive. Think about the last time you felt completely energized in someone's presence. Not because of what they gave you or what they did for you, but because of how they made you feel about yourself. That's what you want to become for him, not the prize he wins, but the feeling he keeps chasing. Because when you become that, it's not about needing him to pursue you. It's about him needing to, because he doesn't want to feel the lack of you. So don't worry about whether you're his type. Don't stress about whether you're saying the perfect thing or giving the perfect response. Focus on how you show up. Focus on your energy. Focus on building emotional impact. Because at the end of the day, the shocking truth isn't that men don't want to chase. It's that most women haven't given them something worth chasing. Be the one who knows her worth, sees the best in others, and reflects it with grace and strength. That's what makes 95.7% of men chase you, not because they're trying to conquer you, but because they never want to lose the feeling they get when they're with you. That's the truth. You know, people always say, be mysterious. As if mystery is just about playing hard to get, not texting back for hours or being cold and distant. But let me tell you something that most people get completely wrong. Mystery isn't about disappearing. It's not about being unavailable or emotionally disconnected. It's about being multidimensional. That's the shocking truth most don't realize. Real mystery, the kind that makes 95.7% of men chase you, isn't a tactic. It's a lifestyle. It's not about pretending you're busy. It's about actually having a life so full, so rich, so engaging that he wants to be part of it. Not just to be around you, but to understand you, to unlock you. See, what really pulls someone in isn't the games, it's the layers. It's when someone can't figure you out in one sitting, in one date, or even after a few weeks. It's when you're not giving everything away right at the beginning because there's just too much to give. That's where the intrigue is born. Imagine this. He meets you. He's drawn in by your presence, maybe your smile, your confidence, the way you carry yourself. But what keeps him chasing, it's when he realizes that every time he talks to you, there's something new, a new passion, a story, a perspective he didn't expect. Maybe it's the fact that you're into salsa dancing on weekends, or that you're starting your own business, or that you volunteer at an animal shelter, or that you're deeply philosophical about life and love, but also absolutely obsessed with true crime podcasts. These aren't things you have to blurt out on date one. You don't have to front load your personality. What makes a man stay interested is the slow reveal, the sense that there's more to learn, more to uncover, that he hasn't fully figured you out. And what's more addictive than that? We live in a world where people present everything up front. Social media has made people think that putting your entire life on display is normal, but there's no seduction in overexposure. There's no charm in predictability. When you show up with a sense of depth, when you're pursuing your goals, when your time is genuinely occupied by meaningful things, when your life is vibrant without needing anyone else to complete it, he notices. He feels it. It's not about trying to seem interesting. It's about being interesting. There's a difference. Trying feels performative. Being is natural. It's what happens when you stop living your life waiting for a relationship and start living your life as if you already have one, with yourself. So when you do go on that date and he's asking about your weekend, you're not scrambling for something to say. You're telling him about the book you've been reading that changed your view on confidence, or how you finally took that solo trip you've been dreaming of, or how you spent the weekend working on your passion project, lost in flow. And here's the magic. When a man hears that, When he sees that you're full of energy, stories, momentum, he realizes you're not sitting around waiting to be chosen. You are the prize. And now he's curious. Not just curious, invested. But let me make this clear. Mystery doesn't mean withholding affection or being emotionally guarded. Some people take the idea of being mysterious and turn it into coldness. That's not attractive. You can be warm, vulnerable, and open-hearted and still be mysterious. Because mystery isn't about what you give, it's about what you leave to be discovered. Think about the best movies you've ever seen. They don't give away the ending in the first 10 minutes. They reveal piece by piece, keeping you glued to the screen. You're engaged because you want to see what's next. The characters evolve. There are twists, depth, contradictions. That's what keeps you hooked. You can be like that too. A woman who reveals slowly, who isn't afraid to say, I'll tell you about that another time, who lets him earn the next chapter of your story. Not in a manipulative way, but because it's natural. Because you know your story is valuable. Because you're not in a rush to impress or convince anyone to stay. You already know what you bring to the table. And when a man senses that, when he realizes there's this whole world within you that he hasn't even touched yet, that's when he starts chasing. That's when it stops being about attraction and starts becoming about investment. This is where most people fall short. They give everything too soon. Not just physically, but emotionally, energetically. They front load all the interest, all the effort, all the excitement. And then they wonder why the man stops trying. It's not because he's not into you. It's because he thinks there's nothing left to discover. But if you stay in your depth, if you live fully, chase your own passions, keep growing, evolving, becoming someone even you are excited to meet every day, he won't be able to resist. Because every time he talks to you, you're new again. Every conversation feels like a step deeper into a story he doesn't want to stop reading. That's the secret. That's the real mystery. Not a game, not silence, not pretending you don't care, but being so alive, so fascinating, so real that he never feels like he's reached the end of who you are. That's what makes 95.7% of men chase, because once he sees that depth in you, he realizes you're not just someone to date, you're someone to discover. Let me tell you something most people overlook. The right boundaries don't push people away. They pull the right ones in. You want to know what actually makes a man chase you? It's not playing hard to get for the sake of it. It's not pretending you don't care when deep down you're obsessing over whether he texted back. The truth is, the most attractive magnetic energy a woman can carry is standards. Quiet, unshakable, non-negotiable standards. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think having boundaries means putting up walls, but walls block love. Boundaries invite the right kind of love. There's a difference between being cold and being clear. Coldness keeps people guessing. Clarity keeps people engaged. When a man knows what's acceptable to you and what's not, without you having to scream it, beg for it, or chase after it, he either steps up or steps out. And trust me, either result is a win. Imagine this for a second. You're dating someone and things are going well on the surface. He's charming, flirty, says all the right things, but he's inconsistent. One week he's hot, next week he's distant. You want more communication, but you're afraid to say anything because you don't want to come off as needy. So you wait, you stay quiet, you overthink. And in doing so, you teach him something dangerous, that your silence is his green light, that he can show up however he wants and you'll still be there. That's not love. That's a slow erosion of self-worth. And here's the kicker. He knows he's not treating you the way you deserve. But if you don't stand up for yourself, he doesn't have to change. Why would he? Now picture the same situation with a woman who knows her value. She notices the inconsistency. She doesn't panic. She doesn't chase. She just calmly says, hey, I've noticed you've been distant lately. I'm looking for someone who's consistent and emotionally available. If that's not where you're at, I understand, but that's what I need. Boom, no drama, no begging, just truth. That's the woman a man respects. That's the woman he can't stop thinking about. That's the woman who gets chased. Because let's be honest, people don't value what comes with no effort. And effort doesn't mean games. Effort means investment. If a man doesn't have to invest emotionally, mentally, or physically to be with you, he won't appreciate you when he has you. Boundaries are what create that investment. They're the difference between a man pursuing you because he wants you and a man staying around just because it's convenient. But here's what's really powerful. Boundaries aren't about the other person. They're not about controlling someone else's behavior. They're about you. They're a mirror of your self-respect. When you set a boundary, you're telling the world, this is how I love myself. This is how I deserve to be treated. And guess what? The people who aren't ready for that will walk away. Let them, because they were never going to give you what you needed anyway. A man who's serious about you, who sees your value, he loves a woman with standards. He admires it. It challenges him. It tells him he's dealing with someone who doesn't settle. And that makes him step into his best self. He starts showing up differently, not because you manipulated him, but because you inspired him. You didn't scream for attention. You simply expected better. And let me clear something up. Having boundaries doesn't mean you're never flexible. It doesn't mean you cut someone off at the first sign of imperfection. It means you know the difference between a mistake and a pattern. It means you know the difference between effort and excuses. When you're clear on what you will and won't tolerate, your energy changes. You walk differently. You speak differently. You're not auditioning for anyone's affection. You already belong to yourself. Think about that. Belonging to yourself. That's the goal. Because when you're full, when you're aligned with your own values, you stop needing someone to complete you. You're not dating to be saved. You're dating to share. You're not desperate for attention. You're selective about who gets your time. That's what flips the switch. That's what makes 95.7% of men chase, not because you're unavailable, but because you're unavailable to anything less than real connection. And real connection begins with self-respect. Some women ask me, but what if I lose him by setting boundaries? My answer is always the same. Then he was never really yours to begin with. If a man walks away because you honored yourself, that's not a loss. That's clarity. That's emotional detox. That's space for someone who's ready to love you the way you deserve. Because the man who's right for you, he won't run from your standards. He'll rise to meet them. And when he does, when you've built a relationship on mutual respect, emotional consistency, and authentic connection, that's when the magic happens. That's when love isn't confusing. That's when he doesn't just chase you, he chooses you again and again every single day. So don't be afraid to draw that line. Don't be afraid to walk away from anything that doesn't meet your needs, because the most powerful move you can make in love is knowing that you'll never have to beg for what you deserve. Let me tell you something that might sting a little at first, but once you hear it, it'll change the way you approach every interaction with a man from this moment forward. Being too available kills attraction. And I don't mean just physically available. I mean emotionally, mentally, energetically. When your entire world starts orbiting around one guy, you instantly lose the very thing that made him chase you in the first place, your value. You see, attraction is born from a sense of pursuit, and pursuit only happens when there's some space for a man to move into. If you're already there, if he knows that no matter how he shows up, no matter how little effort he puts in, you'll respond, you'll be there, you'll prioritize him over everything else, there's no mystery, there's no tension. And without those, there's no chase. Men don't fall in love because they're constantly reassured they have you. They fall in love because they start fearing they might not. That's the subtle line that shifts everything. When a man begins to realize he might lose your attention, not because you're playing games, but because your life is full, rich, and doesn't pause for him, he starts stepping up. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how people tend to value what's limited? Whether it's an exclusive event, a sold-out item, or a limited time offer, We're wired to chase what feels scarce. It's not manipulation, it's psychology. And the same applies to relationships. When your time is always available, it's not precious. When your energy is always given, it's not appreciated. When your presence becomes predictable, it's not exciting. A man will only rise to the level of effort he believes he needs to give in order to keep your attention. If you require nothing, he'll give nothing. Now, I'm not saying you should go cold or distant or ghost him to prove a point. That's not the game we're playing here. This isn't about punishment or pulling away to manipulate. This is about genuinely having a life that doesn't pause just because a man enters the frame. It's about showing that you have your own direction, your own flow, your own purpose. It means that when he texts you, you don't have to reply immediately if you're in the middle of something meaningful. It means you don't drop your plans every time he suddenly becomes available. You don't rearrange your entire day just because he throws you a last-minute invite. Why? Because your life has structure. And that structure tells him, I don't wait around for breadcrumbs. If you want my time, plan for it, respect it. You don't even need to say those words out loud. Your actions do the talking for you. When he sees that you're not sitting around refreshing your phone, waiting for him to validate your day, he begins to wonder, what is she doing? Who is she with? What's occupying her attention? And that curiosity, that's fuel. That's the spark that keeps a man engaged, because suddenly he realizes your attention is not guaranteed. The biggest misconception is that being super available makes you look caring, loyal, and devoted. And while those are amazing qualities in the right stage of a relationship, when they're given too early, before he's earned them, they make you look easy to please. And if a man doesn't feel like he had to work for your time, he won't value it. It's harsh, but it's true. Men need a sense of achievement. That's how they're wired. They don't just want something handed to them. They want to feel like they earned it. And that's not about ego. It's about investment. The more they invest, the more they care. So if you're constantly available, constantly saying yes, constantly bending, you're robbing him of the chance to invest in you. The real power is in being unpredictable in a grounded way. One day you're available for a call. The next you're out with friends. The next you're deep into your passion project or gym session or whatever it is that fuels your soul. You're not making excuses. You're living. You're not waiting. You're thriving. And when he finally does get your time, he knows it's because you chose to give it, not because you had nothing better going on. This is the energy of a high-value woman. Not cold, not distant, but centered. Her life isn't a waiting room for a man's affection. Her presence is earned, not handed over like a flyer. And because of that, men lean in. They notice. They chase, not because you're elusive, but because you're whole without them. A man should feel lucky to have your time, not entitled to it. He should see every interaction as a chance to keep earning his place in your life. And that only happens when he knows you're not going to hand over the keys just because he smiled, called, or showed a flash of attention. So don't be too available. Be grounded, be radiant, be fulfilled. Let your life be so rich that he has to add to it, not define it. Because when a man realizes that your world doesn't revolve around him, that's when he'll do everything he can to be part of it. That's when he starts chasing. Let me tell you something that most people overlook when it comes to attraction. Something that separates the women men pursue from the ones they just hang out with. Playfulness. It sounds simple, right? Maybe even a bit too lightweight to matter. But here's the truth. Playfulness isn't just some cute personality trait. It's power. It's chemistry. It's the secret sauce that makes a man lean in when he thought he was about to lean out. And it's wildly underrated. Let me explain what I mean by that. We're in this era where everyone's trying to be so serious so fast. First date, and people are already diving into their 5-year plans, emotional baggage, and deep philosophical questions. Look, I get it. We all want depth. We all want connection. But here's the problem. If you skip the spark, the fun, the dance, you skip the very thing that makes someone want to get to that depth with you. You see, playfulness is the bridge between intrigue and intimacy. It's the oxygen that keeps the fire alive. If you come into a situation too intense, too focused on where this is going, it creates pressure. And pressure kills romance. It turns a potential connection into an interview. Now, I'm not saying don't have standards. Have them. Be proud of them. But don't weaponize seriousness in the name of self-worth. That's not high value. That's high tension. And men don't chase high tension. They chase what feels good, what feels easy to be around, what feels like freedom, not friction. When you're playful, you disarm. You let your walls down just enough to show that life around you is fun, light, unpredictable in the best way. That's intoxicating. That makes a man want to come back, not because he has to, but because he's drawn to that energy. It's the way you respond with a smirk instead of a lecture. It's the way you tease him when he tries to act too cool. It's the way you laugh at your own jokes or challenge him to a silly bet or throw in that one sarcastic jab that makes his ego take a playful hit. That kind of stuff, it's gold. You know what that does to a man? It brings out his boyish energy. And you want that. You want the part of him that forgets he's trying to impress you and instead just enjoys you, because that's when the walls come down. That's when he's not strategizing how to act. He's just showing up fully because he loves how he feels when he's around you. Most people think relationships are built on deep conversations, and yes, those matter, but chemistry is built in the light moments, in the sideways glances, in the moments where you're not trying to be profound, you're just being. And if you can create that dynamic, especially early on, you're doing something most people can't. You're creating a feeling. And here's the twist that catches everyone off guard. Playfulness isn't just about being bubbly or extroverted. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room. Playfulness can be quiet, subtle. It's in your timing. It's in the way you say, "Oh, really?" with a raised eyebrow when he brags about something. It's in your ability to keep things light when things start to feel a bit heavy too soon. A woman who can flirt with life, not just with men, is magnetic. She's the one people want to be around. She walks into a room and brings this fresh air with her because nothing feels forced. And that's what makes a man chase. Not because she demanded attention, but because her vibe makes his day better. Because she doesn't need him, but she makes everything more fun when she's around. I've seen so many incredible women kill the spark before it even begins because they're too focused on proving something. Proving their value, proving their intelligence, proving they're not like the other girls. But here's what they don't realize. Your value speaks through your energy, not your resume. And if you can't enjoy the moment, he won't enjoy being in it with you. Think about it. When's the last time someone made you laugh in a moment you least expected? It sticks with you, doesn't it? Not just because it was funny, but because it moved you emotionally. That's the memory that lingers. That's what keeps someone thinking about you long after the conversation ends. So if you want to be the woman that 95.7% of men chase, be the woman who reminds them that connection isn't supposed to feel like a chore. Be the woman who can be deep and light, who can talk about real things and still keep the energy playful. Be the one who can flirt without saying a word, who challenges without confrontation, who turns everyday moments into something more, just by being present and a little unpredictable. The truth is, anyone can ask about someone's childhood. Anyone can talk about career goals. But not everyone can bring that sparkle that makes someone feel alive. That's rare. That's powerful. That's the difference between being remembered and being chased. And the woman who knows how to play, really play, with confidence and joy and authenticity, she becomes unforgettable. You want to know something that will absolutely shift the way men respond to you? Emotional control. I'm not talking about being cold or distant or pretending to not care. I'm talking about that deep, grounded confidence that says, "I'm good with or without this." That kind of energy is incredibly rare. And when a man senses it, he doesn't just notice you, he remembers you. He thinks about you when you're not around. He compares you to every other woman he meets. Most people are walking around letting other people control their emotions. They're reactive. He doesn't text back, panic. He pulls away a little, you start chasing. He says something off, you spiral. That's not attractive, not because it's wrong to care, but because when your emotional stability hinges on his every move, you give away your power. And with it, your allure. Here's the truth. The moment you become emotionally reactive, you give a man all the leverage. He knows he can affect you, that your world shifts with his presence or absence. And on a subconscious level, he starts to feel like you need him more than you choose him. That changes everything. Attraction dies the second someone feels obligated to carry the weight of your emotions. But imagine this. You're in a conversation and he says something a little triggering. Maybe he brings up an ex, or he flakes on plans. Instead of blowing up, sulking, or over-explaining how it made you feel, you stay centered. You smile. You say, "That's okay," and then you gracefully excuse yourself or pivot the energy. Not passive-aggressively, just calmly, with grace, with certainty. That moment right there plants something in his mind. She's not like the others, because most people would crumble, but you didn't. And it's not because you're suppressing your feelings, it's because you manage them. You don't let external chaos dictate your internal peace. You've trained yourself to be calm under pressure. That's the kind of woman who's unforgettable. That's the kind of woman men chase, because she becomes a challenge, not in a toxic, manipulative way, but in the most intriguing way. You're no longer chasing validation from him. He's now wondering how to earn yours. Let me take it even further. Emotional control means not negotiating with red flags. You don't justify bad behavior just because you feel a connection. You don't get swept up in someone's potential while ignoring their patterns. You see things for what they are and you act accordingly. When you operate from that mindset, your actions become aligned with your self-worth, not your temporary emotions. And here's the wild part. Men respect what they can't shake. When they can't throw you off your center, they start seeing you differently. You're not someone they can toy with, breadcrumb, or half invest in. You're someone they have to show up for. Someone they can't afford to lose. You create emotional contrast. He realizes, when I'm with her, I feel calm. I feel challenged, but in the best way. I feel like I have to rise to her level. That's what makes you magnetic. Not the dress, not the flirtation, not even the chemistry. It's your stability in a world full of volatility. Men chase the woman who has options but doesn't flaunt them, who feels deeply but doesn't fall apart, who holds space for love but never at the cost of her peace. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who, no matter what happens, just moves through life with grace? You can feel it. Their presence is solid. You don't feel chaos. You don't feel pressure. You just feel peace. That's who you become when you master emotional control. You become the person who makes everyone else feel safer just by being around you. That kind of energy is addictive to a man, because deep down, every man is craving a woman who doesn't make him feel like he has to walk on eggshells. A woman who doesn't spiral when things don't go her way. A woman who can express what she wants without demanding or pleading, just expressing it and letting go. That's the woman who wins every time. And let me tell you something powerful. When you learn how to keep your emotions in check, you actually start attracting better men. You're no longer appealing to the guys who want someone to fix. You're not attracting those who feed off drama. You're drawing in men who are also emotionally grounded, who want to give, build, support, and grow. Why? Because your energy tells them, I've already built my house. You can come in and enjoy it, but you don't get to burn it down. You'll notice something else too. Men who aren't ready for a woman like that, they'll fall off quickly. They'll stop texting, they'll ghost, they'll flake. And instead of being devastated, you'll feel grateful, because your calm confidence will see it not as a rejection, but as redirection. You'll stop internalizing someone's lack of effort as a reflection of your worth. You'll stop chasing clarity from people who are never meant to sit at your table. And that's the ultimate seduction. You become a woman who's unattached to outcome. Not because you don't care, but because you trust. You trust yourself. You trust that the right people will see your value. And most importantly, you trust that no matter who comes or goes, you're still good. Men chase that. Because now they're not chasing just a woman, they're chasing a feeling. The feeling of being around someone who's already full, already happy, already grounded. Someone who doesn't need them, but still chooses to let them in. That's the shocking truth.